on your time zone. We are live and direct here this evening from this end, of course, to discuss very pertinent and interesting topical issues here as it borders on the existence of humanity and, of course, Nigeria in particular. What is going on of most recent, the mass protest that uh, was impact on about today being the ninth day of this protest. Of course, that will culminate by, according to schedule, tomorrow, the 10th of August. Yes, there have been several reactions and misinterpretations about this protest, and some of the opinion that this protest was sponsored in order to truncate the administration of Ahmed Bola Tinubu. And some say that it's because of the north, northern ideology of holding on to power, that the power belongs to them, and eventually, once they are not within the corridor of power, no other regions should be tolerated. But contrary to these opinions and more, we are here to analyze deeply without any biasness or prejudice to the subject of discourse. Uh, the point to note and very emphatic is that Tinubu's government has not, of course, met the expectations of even those who voted for him. Tinubu government has brought so much pain and agony to the Nigerian masses, regardless of the opinion of any person regarding this subject. What drive people away was because of the maladministration and the people's anti-policy of Tinubu's administration, even from inception. In less than, even before he walks into the Oval Office or the House of Villa, he made a very dangerous mistake, which is costing him, of course, uh, and the entire Nigerian populace so much pain and agony. As you join us in this discussion, kindly hit the like buttons and share this video in any platform you belong to. Hit the subscription button if you haven't subscribed to this channel, and for the returning subscribers, thank you for being part of today's discussion, which promises to be very brief and informative as the case is. And of course, turn on the notification button so that you can get our videos in whatever is being uploaded, and of course, to enjoy this political discourse. Now, of most recent, Innocent, the managing director, CEO of Innocent Groups of company, of course, met Tinubu about few hours ago, asking or enjoying the Nigerians, pleading that the Nigerians, of course, should have patience with the administration of Ahmed Bola Tinubu. Then you begin to ask, have patience with Tinubu until everyone chokes by the bad governance and, of course, anti-policy, people's anti-policies that have been rolled out by this government. Even the monetary policies and the fiscal policies has not in any way engineered or engendered prosperity or progress, of course, to every region of this country, not even the citizens. Of most recent, we are now hearing that civil servants are to be given 50 kg of rice for certain amounts, according to information that Rewane come to say that these civil servants buys that at 40,000 and resell it at 85,000. Is that a kind of policy that is sustainable? Is that a kind of policy? I mean, even the worst uh, dull government cannot resort to such policies. Why single out civil servants? How many are the civil servants, and what is the population in terms of percentage? They are far less than 0.00 percent, 0.001% in terms of the population of Nigerian state, which was estimated to be more than 220 million people. Then, if you have to single the civil servants for to give them at a subsidized rate, what happens to the entire populace or population of this country that are wallowing in abject poverty, being stricken by deep recession? And of course, the same people are in the same government, and it is quite mischievous and the act of irresponsibility on the part of the government. So those policies have not worked. It's a way of subverting, of course, and they started the people from uh, being held responsible for the misgovernance. So civil servants, how many, including the federal civil servants, how much are they that they should be, of course, given such a privilege or prioritize against the Nigerian citizens? But that notwithstanding, we are here to discuss very pertinent issues here. Now, why should, of course, is entitled to his opinion. Let me not question of course, his right to his opinion. Innocent Motors or group of companies has the right, of course, to his own personal opinion, asking the Nigerian populace to have patience with Ahmed Bola Tinubu administration. But contrary to that, we have evidence that abounds that the government is even clueless or perhaps have run out of idea on how to get Nigeria out of this wood. Nigeria remains, of course, trapped in this quagmire and state of despair because of the nagging uh, hunger, starvation that is hitting the population of this country. And unfortunately, the insecurity seems not to have been addressed or no any sight in view to address the state of insecurity, both in terms of human life and properties, and of course, food as well. There is no social security, no health security, no any sort of security. Everybody is at the state of jeopardy, at the risk of extinction. It's just the survival of the species is what is playing out. Now, coming to the protest, you have seen that the North have sustained, of course, the tempo of this protest, regardless of whatever uh, clamp down from the security operatives and to deter the protesters. The North have remained very resolute and committed to this protest. Some says that the northern people or cabals were mobilized, have mobilized the vulnerable masses against Tinubu's administration. But contrary to that, we are to review the position of the North. Is the North protest against Jonathan justifiable compared to what is happening under Tinubu's administration? You know, of course, the same Tinubu mobilized the North to protest against Jonathan administration. Now, today, Tinubu's administration is also experiencing the same protests against his administration and what I call deceptive propaganda because there have not been any promise kept except for the promise of uh, suffering Nigerians until they die. And he's going to step into the shoe of Buhari. Indeed, we are going to review that. But considering the antecedents and the happenings within the Nigerian state, we are going to review what is the justification of the northern population for demanding good accountability and good governance, of course, and the end of bad governance by the Tinubu's administration. Now, you going back to memory lane, we have seen from the foregoing that it appears that the North has produced several governments precisely in the democratic process after the return of democracy in 1999. Of course, we saw Yaradua, who happens to be from the north, then instruction. He happens to be one of the most celebrated Nigerian presidents in terms of competency and, of course, concern for the citizens and the empathy. His passion for good governance is, of course, has not been beaten. I mean, his record. And, he had joint ticket with Jonathan. After his demise, Jonathan stepped into the shoe based on the provisions of the Constitution, though he was vehemently opposed because of vested interests from certain quarters. But that notwithstanding, the truth is that Jonathan succeeded or stepped into the shoe as the president, having acted for some okay, of course, to complete the 2 years remaining, and eventually was re-elected on that PDP platform as the president of Nigeria after Yaradua's demise. Now you begin to ask, unfortunately, Jonathan never performed exceptionally well compared to the legacies Yaradua laid down, and was so much endeared by the people. Now, some that we want to blame the North for everything. Yes, some persons believe that the North are gullible or backward in terms of academics and Western, of course, exposure or whatever you might liken that to be. That the North are backwards, they are retrogressive in nature, their region is backward. Well, I may agree with you to some extent, but in terms of governance, they have demonstrated a very resilient and, of course, progressive uh, ventures or attainment in terms of comparison with what is happening. Comparing Jonathan and Yaradua's administration, you get to understand that Jonathan underperformed. He could not sustain the tempo or the legacies that was laid down by Yaradua. Under Yaradua's administration, you also get to understand and agree with me. Yes, Esther Fans, kindly hit the like buttons as you join us. Share this video. Let others get to join us in this expose and, of course, in-depth analysis here without any biasness to this subject of discourse. Why should the North, of course, have patience? For how long would Tinubu ask for, of course, Nigerians to be patient? Just as we are going to extract today, Jonathan fell below the threshold of what good governance should be. And of course, it could not sustain the tempo or the legacies, good governance that was led, or the foundation that was led by his principal, being the vice president to Yaradua, Umaru Yaradua, of blessed memory. But then you can understand that only Yaradua could reverse the fuel price and bring it down to 60%, and of course, crazy to 50 naira from 87 naira or 97 naira to 50 naira. It was possible under Yaradua's administration, even when some cabals, some oil cabals, opposed that position. He, of course, do not mind whatever might be stepping on the shoes of the cabals and the oil moguls. He insisted and went further to bring down the petrol price or the pump price of petrol, which of course was greeted with so much excitement and commendations on the part of the Nigerian populace. And Yaradua was indeed a celebrated president in his time, though he was short-lived, but that, of course, singular actions has remained indelible in the minds and the hearts of his uh, admirers, which I'm one. But now, under Jonathan, you saw what happened. That Jonathan moved, of course, to increase uh, whatever he called to remove subsidy. Jan- Yaradua, contrary to that, Yaradua brought down the price of petrol. And there was nothing, of course, contradictory about whether removing subsidy or not. The subsidy still remains, and of course, he subsidized that and also brought down the cost of petrol. And Jonathan went and attempted to remove the subsidy. According to him, is a fraud. Well, for whatever reasons he believes, of course, that subsidy is a fraud, just in Nigeria. But other nations or Western nations, and of course, subsidize some important or very important commodities within the society as a way of cushioning the effect of this on the masses of the populations of their own citizens. So unfortunately, Jonathan could not succeed with that. By removing the subsidy, he jacked up, of course, the petrol price, which attracted criticisms, especially from the opposition, which Ahmed Bola Tinubu also sponsored and staged protests in Ojota and other parts of the north, canvassed for a massive uh, protest against the removal of subsidy and eventual removal of Jonathan, of course, an end to Jonathan's administrations. So we saw Wole Soyinka, the role he played. We saw Sowore with his Sahara reporters. We also saw Tunde Bakares, and then those people have gone hiding. Eventually, in this latest protest against Tinubu, they were nowhere to be found. Or perhaps uh, they have been not sincere or in terms with the realities, or perhaps they have expressed some level of insincerity or prejudice in their sense of judgment, because Jonathan, they protested them, was a heaven, regardless of the fact that it was marred with endemic corruptions, embezzlements, and every a free for all. People were just stealing the more they can, of course, as much as they can. Even the get men, it was reported that scattered away with several millions of dollars uh, while his administration is winding up. That is not a subject of interest. We are to stray eventually what happened. You see that even Jonathan failed to live up to responsibility and expectations of Nigerians. And some saw reasons, though this reason was just uh, uh, hide under ulterior motive. And eventually, Jonathan was ousted out because of some notable key politicians in PDP defected, and that destroyed the chances of PDP from clinching to power. And Jonathan eventually lost. We understood there was so much irregularities which was noticed during the presidential election, supervised by the INEC electoral umpire, of course, under the supervision of Jega at Tahiru Jega. Then we saw where on the age we are voting, and of course, these are very justifiable reason to have cancelled the election. But Jonathan went further to congratulate Buhari then, of course, on a call, and eventually that ended such tensions and supposed hostility that would have created the outcome or aftermath of the elections. Now, that is a history, of course, well uh, noted by everyone who has interest or concern about the past, but that is not where our interest lie. Then Jonathan, of course, left office, and now Buhari stepped in, and eventually, with all the promises and deceptive propagandas and lies, of course, Lai Mohammed, or Lai Mohammed then was in, of course, in the aim of affair, dishing out deceptive propagandas and the founded of claims, and eventually the wide away time and distorted the people, of course, and do not give the people the good governance they deserve, or dividends of democracy, and eventually 8 years was just like very horrible decades. Eventually, it was done and dusted, and of course, Buhari eventually left, and people were lamenting and crying that, oh, this man is not letter, this man is not school, this man has no certificate, this man is just more or less a nomadic personality who should have, under civilized society, be tendering or attending to cows and cattle, leading them to the bush to tender for them. But eventually, while living according to some persons who believe that he was still the same Buhari then, but some opinions and of course some quarters believe that Buhari died in 2017. Well, that is not a subject of interest now, but eventually, whatever, whether it is the dead or alive Buhari, eventually left office and said Nigeria will greatly miss him. People thought he was indeed mocking. This is another northern uh, extraction who happens to be the president, haven't underscored that the North are not good managers. They're comparing Tinubu and Buhari. You understand that the North are better managers, even as people claim that Tinubu are the West are more informed than exposed. But contrary to that, the recent realities have revealed, of course, that the North lacks, the South or the West, Southwest lack the capacity again to demonstrate that leadership prowess and the direction. Just comparing Jonathan and Yaradua, you saw that Yaradua performed excellently well in comparison with Jonathan. And now coming back to Buhari and Tinubu, you saw that even the 8 years of 8 years of Buhari's administration is could not be compared with the just 1 year of Tinubu's administration. The level of hardship, sufferings, and pains agony forced on the masses, and a very notable mother called in. I put a call to her to celebrate her birthday today, as she is 1 plus today. It's no other person that Bomi Nkechi Okaro marks another birthday anniversary today. Congratulations to you, Mommy Nkechi Okaro. May the Lord continue to give you more life in good health and, of course, sound mind. You continue to stay strong and, of course, healthy in spirit, soul, and body. Thank you once again. Congratulations, and we hope to celebrate with you. Of course, you can also send your our own cake here down through the DHL. It's possible in this modern world. Yes, we congratulate you and wish that God will continue to strengthen you and keep you safe. Congratulations once again. Then you understand, back to our discussions, that Tinubu's administration was just nothing short of hell. As people, of course, we are forced to move to the streets to protest. Now, the North has strong reasons to protest because they have not performed so badly as we are seeing today. Yes, we have a Buhari who people thought was the dullest of the Nigerian president, but eventually we have not seen the dullest or the worst. Instead, today Buhari is perceived to be a saint, perceived to be a more better manager than Tinubu, uh, with more focus. Some, of course, could argue that, but the realities are staring at us. Today, Tinubu is asking for people to give him more time. Time is is an intangible, of course, access, which will only be defined by events. So, if in the last 1 year the events presupposes or suggests that and nothing, of course, to show for, and no even any sight or direction, economic direction or policy direction that could um, inspire hope, of course, to the Nigerian masses. Then you begin to ask, what exactly are you asking time for? There's no anything that inspires hope to the Nigerian populace. There's no any economic direction that people can see. Okay, and say, well, let's give him time that he will work out those. These are not realistic. Just calling for civil servant to come and collect, to come and purchase 50 kg of rice at subsidized rate. How many years will they eat it? Which is already a failed attempt, a strategy again, because we all know it's just giving opportunity to some persons to uh, exploit the citizenries. And of course, you know what that means. You have to fill a form. You have to fill a form. You have to be documented to buy a 50 kg of rice in Nigeria as a civil servant. What a shame. What a shame. So to buy 50 kg of rice, you have to be profiled. What an insult. What an insult on Nigerians' intelligence. What an insult. Is that the only thing, of course, this administration can think out on how to do? They have been called on several occasions to let the borders open and let people, of course, let food flow, influx of food commodities, uh, have its natural cause of flow than narrowing, controlling whatever gets to any person. You have to profile, you have to document and do this before you get 50 bag of 50 kg of rice. Under normal circumstances, cannot even last for 3 weeks or 4 weeks for a family of 4 or 5. It's quite unfortunate, and what is happening, and this shows, of course, that the future is bleak for this country, and those who unfortunately within the corridor of power are not good managers. They are bad managers indeed, not even inspiring any hope or having any better prospects for Nigerian masses. Now you can now compare that even the North, as bad as the North, of course, could be considered, they are more better in terms of governance, in terms of administration, than the Southern people haven't been demonstrated with these two comparisons, Yaradua and Jonathan. Do people blame, of course, I'm also a critic of Buhari because of his religious bigotry and sentiments against the Igbos. But that notwithstanding, Buhari was able to construct, okay, let's say, a bridge. Some persons might say, what is the economic importance of that bridge? Of course, I have argued that in the past, but that is could be seen as one of the basic infrastructures, if I may say, which Jonathan, being a southern president, never did. What did Jonathan did to the east, to the Igbos, or to the entire south? What did he do? The entire 6 years, of course, 2 years as vice president and 6 years as president was a total waste for the entire south, especially the southeast. He never did anything even to the south. So Jonathan was there for 6 years as president and 2 years as vice president, and yet could not construct a single bridge that links the south and the southeast, as it's being called, south and southeast. A major entrance, a major link bridge. And you can say Jonathan is good. Well, what kind of good is that? That is the worst government, by my own assessment, by comparison with these two. The same Buhari that people never liked because of his excesses could even construct a bridge across the Niger, which Jonathan never did. He was just dreaming in the world of fantasies, living in the world of fools that in the second term he will do perform magic wonders. What kind of nonsense wonders? You have spent 6 years and you failed to even construct your own Otueke. Major roads were not constructed. So who do you have to blame? Then a northerner who is considered even, of course, a religious and tribal by God has to construct a bridge. The same thing is happening now. There's a southerner, a southwesterner is sit there and people are crying. You can't buy a bag of rice. People are finding it extremely difficult. Just as Mommy Kechi revealed that somebody told her that a tuber of yam that was once sold about 1,000 or 1,002, at most 1,500, is now 9,000. Even more. Certain quarters, there's been sold at 10,000, 12,000. The same tuber of yam under Tinubu's administration. Subsidy is gone. And everything eventually went down with the subsidy pronouncement. So you can see now people should justify at the north, of course, for protesting against what they called or believe to be bad governance because they have not performed bad, as bad as the north are perceived to be in terms of governance. They have not performed as worse as what is happening under Tinubu's administration. So they have the justification and of course, listen, to protest against bad government. It was indeed a bad governance as far as the north is concerned. So they have strong justifications for hitting the streets in their thousands or millions protesting against Tinubu's administration because the north have not performed so badly, not even in history of Nigeria. Tinubu, who, of course, under the mantra of renewed hope, unfortunately, that's the hope of all, including his own party loyalists, are complaining. Everybody, even security operatives, nobody is spared under his administration. And what we are hearing from some persons or perhaps who are seeking for some compensations or considerations, so of course, um, to be given some leverages under his administration or to be favored by Tinubu's administration, are asking you people should give him time, as if he will perform magic that he have not performed in the last 1 year, and people will begin to see a new, vibrant, energetic, and very articulate Tinubu. Is it for real? And eventually, you are just deceiving yourself, as far as I'm concerned. Well, I'm not overruling the fact that he could change. He has just opportunity to do so, but from the realities and the foregoing, that change is gone. Even the new hope agenda is now, of course, nowhere to be found. The renewed hope of pain and agony is what just the masses are seeing, and that is the reasons why people were forced, of course, to the streets, and eventually you have witnessed wanton destructions of life and properties, especially in the northern hemisphere, just as what happened in Kano State and other parts of the north, of course, Kaduna and the rest of them. In as much as we don't support violence or, of course, incite people to do so, but the reality is that the north are justified by protesting against bad governance because they have never produced as worse as this experience in the history of a northern, of course, a president. Just with these two analysis or comparison I have made. You can also, of course, make your own opinions or suggestions via the comment section. So, do you agree with these positions? But these are realities, regardless of whatever sentiments or you may share or believe. These are truths if you are to be honest and sincere. The North has not been so bad. So, like the Tinubu's administration, things have not been so bad that people are selling their children to Japa or perhaps to feed themselves. The crime rate is at alarming and, of course, a very disturbing one. The insecurity, unfortunately, is so devastating, and the economy is not helping issues. And of course, people are just surviving, not just they're not living. Honestly, it's quite unfortunate. The most priority of an average Nigerian families or household is how to eat. It's become a major project for Nigerians, families or household, those residents in Nigeria. What to eat, including I myself, because I've not been finding it very easy as that as the case is. So it has become a national dilemma and a very disgrace, of course, disgraceful one as that is a population or a nation that could not feed her populations could not be considered an independent state because independence, of course, is stand at the ability and the willingness to address the basic needs and necessities of your your citizens, which is shelter, clothing, and food. If you can't feed most of the clothes being worn by Nigerians are just second hand, inferiors, these are there are no textile industries or factories manufacturing or designing clothes in Nigeria. It's quite unfortunate to meet the demands, the growing demand, of course, of clothing Nigerians. Of course, feeding Nigerians has become almost an impossible task for the government. And unfortunately, the anti policies of the government are not even given an enabling environment for private sectors to step in. In fact, millions or several thousands of them are folding and winding up. And in the last 3 years, it's been reported, of course, that over 16 to 20 multinational companies have left Nigerian shores. It's quite very disturbing and at very alarming rates, especially in the last 1 year. And you begin to ask now, what is happening to the economy? It's quite very destructive indeed. Now, subsidy everywhere, taxations increment. I mean, Nigerians are choking to death, and eventually things are not. There's no hope in sight, or how the government intends to remedy or address these issues, just as the recent purported statement of Ahmed Bola Tinubu to the Nigerians was vehemently criticized by some persons that this is just an empty statement. It does not address or seems to address the nagging issues of concern, of course, raised by Nigerians. Unfortunately, that is where we are today. You have seen it that the North are justified. Unfortunately, the southwestern protesters are being clamped down and being attacked by some sponsored hoodlums or touts. Of course, state sponsored or the politicians sponsored them to truncate and disrupt the peaceful protests organized by these Nigerians who felt disappointed and aggrieved, of course, by the height of sufferings and subjugations that have been forced on them by this administration of Ahmed Bola Tinubu, who also protested against the military junta of then military head of state Abacha, and of course, and Jonathan as well. All the allegations levied against Jonathan's reasons for which he should be voted out of office. He has done that more worse than that. So he has passed judgment against himself. And what we expect him is to tender resignation with, of course, do apology, with unreserved apology to Jonathan for protesting against him, and then doing the same, more worse style than, of course, ever Jonathan could have imagined. We could have imagined under Jonathan's administration. So Tinubu, the president Ahmed Bola Tinubu, has to tender unreserved apology to Jonathan for deceiving the gullible ones to believe that Jonathan is a bad manager and could not foster any progress or prosperity for Nigerians. But today, the reality he is, of course, the ball is on his court, and he has fared woefully to score. Unfortunately, has punctured the ball, and Nigerians are deflected now, and things are getting more worse, by the day. And you can see the build up, the tempo is building up in the northern, of course, hemisphere. But well, let's see how that goes down after. Yes, tomorrow has been scheduled to run for 10 days, whether it will escalate beyond the 10 days, and eventually could that be managed. We've seen cases in Maraba where millions of people were hitting the streets, and of course, on some areas, mad with violence and interruption by the security operatives, of course, instigated the violence, and that is quite unfortunate for the lives lost. But then, how far that could go is just will be defined in matter of days, and only time will tell us where we go from here. We've also heard, of course, some reports that some persons are targeted, of course, by the states for prosecutions because it's been perceived that they sponsor this protest. Well, we are to see how that goes down, just as the NLC, of course, officials are very bitter and embittered by the way security operatives could not guarantee the safety of the peaceful protesters just in Gani Parks here in Lagos State, where hoodlums invaded and, of course, brutalized several protesters, and they were pushed out of the same Gani Parks. It's quite very unfortunate, an infringement to the fundamental right of the people, of course, to protest. It's been protected by the law, but not in Nigeria. Just as the case, those who organize protests are now afraid of the same protests under their watch. Is quite very unfortunate and very disturbing one. How could that be said that Nigeria is in the hand of a tyranny? Well, of course, the only time we reveal more of this, but we keep on watching as things continue to unfold. Of course, keeping it real has been a commitment, and whatever be the case, we will always be here in CoWeb TV to review the latest happenings and, of course, the way forward and the reactions or response of the masses regarding this. Or does it seem that Nigerians has lost their voice? Is it a total defeat for Nigerians who has been conquered on all fronts and, of course, will perpetually be enslaved or held under, of course, the dictate of the oppressors? Well, only time will reveal. Some persons are silent. I'm not talking again. We are at this Wole Soyinka, of course, in his 90, as he marks his 90th birthday. Of course, that should be a better time to address and tell people the truth, as he rightly promised that after 1 year, he's going to review and assess Tinubu's administration. People are still waiting keenly and patiently for him to make his own bold assertions or what exactly is he afraid of? Could he have been induced or perhaps lobbied by what we are seeing? Of course, he's been named after certain national infrastructures or whatever monument is being named after him. Could it be a way of bribing him? Please keep quiet. Well, of course, we are at the Bakare occupying Nigeria protests. Where are they occupying now? They're occupying Sambisa Forest. Where are they really occupying now? Have they discovered a new Nigeria where they are occupying? Why are they silent? Is this silent, of course, a state of conspiracy or admittance, of course, that they are guilty? They should as well apologize to Jonathan's administration. Thank you once again for watching. I would appreciate you. We also expect your comments via the comment sections. With this development, you can now, of course, agree with me that the North are more justified. Some persons say, why should the North, of course, the protests be more pronounced in the North? Why? Because they are justified. They have not been so bad or produced so bad leadership as been experienced in the South. So sometimes you don't have to blame them when they claim to be bomb mentality. But the unfortunate thing is that the North don't know that they could govern themselves better if they, of course, canvass and advocate for for separation. Yes, not the North canvass and demand for their independent separate state where they can govern themselves. If the South can perform similarly better than they, even unfortunately worse than the North have done, then the North has the right, of course, to call for the independent state of the North so that they can manage themselves more better than the South. Evidence abounds to that. Jonathan wasted 6 years. He never did anything to the Southerners as against Yaradua, who even initiated amnesty programs and of course, reintegrations and rehabilitations of the Niger Delta militants. Which one did Jonathan do? Just as what is happening today is quite unfortunate, and that is the truth. I would be, of course, in strong support for the North if they should canvass and advocate for the independent state of the Northern Hemisphere so that they can manage themselves. They are better managers compared to the South in its entirety because the South has failed even the South, but even the North, under their watch, even performed exceptionally well for their own people, if not, of course, selected few of the Northern who are beneficiaries of this. But in the South, how many people have benefited from the governance of the Southern extraction? None, not even in Tinubu's administrations. The first time I heard the slogan, Ebim Bawa was, of course, a brainchild, of course, an expression of rejection, suppression, and psychological torture inflicted on the southern people, the southwestern people precisely. His own ethnic nationality cried out, "We are hungry." But how, of course, long this hunger will last will only be defined in time. But we are not seeing any decisive steps or actions on the part of this government to address this myriad of problem. It is becoming almost an impossible task for them to do. But whatever be the case, of course, humanity will have a way of shifting to annul the effect of this imbalance in the system. Well, let's continue to watch as things unfold. Whatever be the case, we'll continue to bring your way the in-depth analysis. But you can agree with me by these submissions that the North are better managers compared to the South. And of course, I will support the independent states of the Northern Hemisphere. Let them govern themselves and manage their resources. They have comparative advantage. They have expanse of lands. They have more uh, fertile agrarian, of course, expanse of lands that they could turn to gold. They could make billions of external revenue, billions of dollars from that, if they can manage themselves and, of course, articulate on how to move themselves forward. Thank you once again for watching, and to have a great day. Until come your way in subsequent editions, I remain Chigos and Debo. Good night from here.